One argument I see crop up more often than whether or not HTML is a real programming language is whether it's better to go to university or be self-taught. So I thought I'd weigh in on the discussion, seeing as I've been both self-taught before I went to university. Hey everyone, my name is Andy and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you about my experience of being a self-taught developer and a university-taught developer. So do you need to go to university? Short answer, no. Long answer, maybe? Now, the first decade or so of my career, I was entirely self-taught. I did go to college when I was 18, even though I'd spent 3 years being a self-taught developer. Now, in the UK, if you go to college to do your A-levels or a BTEC, which I did, you need that before you can go to university. Got some really cool things about robotics, about networking, and about UX, stuff that I had no concept of. That's the thing. When you do the self-taught route, you do all of these courses, read these books about how to do web development. They all teach you the syntax, the code, the functions, how to produce the correct result, but they don't really go into detail about how to build something that looks good, something that the user can enjoy using. And that's what they taught me at college. I went to college back in 2004, almost 20 years ago at this. Wow, I feel. And maybe times have changed since then. Maybe now when you do a college course or even a university course, they do teach you UX. I don't know. We had a set UX module, and even then it wasn't entirely UX based. It was called Human Computer Interface, talking about how the user can use keyboards and mouse and voice control to do things with the computer, and motion controls. And again, that didn't really go into too much detail about UI and UX. It gave you enough to get going, so that when you did your actual application development or your web modules, then you could use some of the concepts that they taught to help make your product better. But you did not get graded on the aesthetic or the user interface or the user experience. You got graded on the functional code run without errors. Did it produce bugs? Did it crash? Did it meet the criteria that a program must do this, this, and this? If it did all of that, you got top marks, but it did not care how it looked. A keen sense of what makes good UX will make you a better developer. When I was self-taught, I read like a dozen books on web development, Flash, if you can remember that, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all of that. I learned so much doing it. When I went into college, I breezed through the entire course and I walked out with the highest marks in the college. It's how effective self-learning can be. And I was that successful at college that the college then offered me a full-time job pretty much on the spot. That's the sort of stuff you hear about in movies. I spent the next 7 years working with that. A few years later, I then decided to go to university. And the reason for that is because I moved to a different part of the country. I tried for months to get a developer role, but every company where I was at that time was asking for university qualifications. All that experience paid off. I walked out of university with top marks and straight into a full-time developer role, which is crazy. It really depends on where in the world you are and what companies you want to go. If a company wants you to have a university qualification to get the job, that's on them. If they say, we don't care about that, we just want your experience, which more and more companies are doing nowadays, then that's great as well. The downside to going to university, you don't really develop your own style of doing things. You get taught you must do things this way to pass the course. And that's really what it's about. They're not teaching you how to code, to build applications. They teach you how to code to pass the course. Whereas if you're self-taught, you have your own style of doing things. You have your own way of working. That can set you apart from everyone else. That can set you apart from all the hundreds of applicants, all the other developers who have gone to university and done the same course, but you didn't. You did it differently. You did it your own way. It adds variety to your experience. You can do all sorts of really cool things with your portfolio that people at university may not get the chance to do because they were taught these languages and these frameworks. If you've gone your own route, you've learned what you want to learn. One of the things that university does that being self-taught doesn't is it forces you to work with other people. It forces you to work in groups and in teams with people you get on with, people you don't get on with, people who you really like, people you can't stand the sight of. You have to work together to build the project. And most times when you read these books online or you do the self-taught route, that's the key word there, self. You're on your own. You may be able to collaborate with people, you may be able to ask questions, but the end result is you are on your own. So ultimately, in this day and age, in 2022, do you need to go to university? No. Some employers say you must go to university, others don't care. And that's ultimately their call. If they want you to go to university, so be it. So what do you think? Do you think you need to go to university to become a software developer in 2022? Or do you think it's an old-fashioned requirement from yesteryear that we just haven't got around to binning yet? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and check out this video where I'll show you 5 steps to get started as a freelancer in 2022. Oh, and by the way, HTML is a language. The clue is very much in the name. Hypertext Markup Language.